Okay, so hey guys, so today's video is going to be a in-depth swatching and review video on the Viseart Warm Neutral Matte Palette. The packaging is a little bit messed up, so I'm just going to take it out of the packaging because honestly I got something pretty smelly on it, so I kind of don't want to keep it in the packaging. I'm trying to save like a certain makeup product and it got like all over the outside of it because I was trying to see if like it being exposed to air might help it a little bit. But we're just going to jump right into the video. So this is what the outer packaging looks like, and you guys know that what it looks like from seeing most other videos. I really like the outer packaging. It's just nice and simple, just simple like cardboard, and it's like this gray brown picture, picture, and it says Viseart Professional Makeup Paris, Professional Preview, and then on the back it just says the Essential Neutral Matte Eyeshadow. It's highly pigmented, smooth, and homogeneous texture, easy to blend, no fallout, long stay. Can be used with water to correct eyebrows. Oh, that's pretty cool. Ingredients are talc, mica, zinc, stearate. I can't read the rest of them, but there's honestly really not too many ingredients in here, which actually makes me really happy. But I will tell you if the claims do, if these do live up to the claims that it says on the back. So I am going to be doing a full review on the actual palette, but I'm also going to give you guys cheaper alternatives and comparisons to other eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to compare it to my top 3 favorite eyeshadow palettes, and then just a couple of other alternatives that I think are worth the money, or since if you're on a budget, cheaper than obviously this palette. So we're going to dive right into the palette. I am wearing it today on my eyes. I'm going to tell you guys what I'm wearing on my eyes. I just used just a few of the shadows today. So this is what the outer packaging looks like. It's a clear lid, and then on the back it has a black plastic, and then it says the Viseart Warm Neutral Matte Palette. It says Warm Matte Palette. So this is the Warm Neutral Matte Palette because I just thought that the Warm Matte Palette was more suitable for me. If you guys want to go for the neutral one, the regular one, just go for that one. But I think that this is the best alternative if you're really into warm eyeshadow looks like me. So, and then it does have the little logo on the center of it. So once you open it up, obviously you have the 12 eyeshadows, and I actually really like the packaging of this. It's nice and simple, and honestly this is really durable. I've dropped it like 3 times already because I'm putting it like right on top of my other palettes, and it kind of falls to the side when I'm looking for like a different palette, and so far it's been lasting. It's really durable packaging. Like, this is not very easily breakable, so I would definitely give that a big plus. I don't really care about outer packaging as long as the inner product is good, you know? So then in the palette, you have 12 eyeshadows. Now, you can find Viseart on their website, on Sephora.com, and I think on Beautylish. And I know there's like multiple retailers, and sometimes certain websites like offer them for like a really good discount like twice a year, so make sure you look out for that. This palette retails for $80. I know that it's an arm and a leg for some people, but I did get it during the 15% off Sephora VIB sale, so I got it for around like $72, which is still expensive, but this is the most expensive palette I own besides the MAC Warm Neutral Matte Palette, and that one was like $65. So this is the most expensive makeup item I've ever purchased. But some people purchase like the Tom Ford bronzer that's like $110. Like, this is an eyeshadow palette, so I feel like it's a lot more worth it. So these are what the 12 colors look like, and I'm going to swatch all of them first before I go in depth on how the formula is. I'm just going to tell you what the colors are, and then we'll review the palette after that. So I'm going to start with the top row. I'm going to start with this first shadow right here. So this one is a really nice like ivory white eyeshadow. Really pretty. It's like kind of like a ivory banana shade. There's a little bit of warmth to every single shadow in this palette. They kind of swatch a lot warmer than they are in the actual pan, which I kind of like. So that's the first one. You're not really going to be able to see it because it's very light, but just to get an idea, but since it's against my skin tone, you're not really going to see it that well. So then the second shade is this really pretty like off-white mustardy kind of yellowish shade. Really pretty. And when you dip your fingers into these, this is how this one looks like. See how this one's a lot more yellow? It picks up a lot more like a banana shade than it is in the pan. I'm just going to show you like the pan, and then I'm going to show you the actual shade. It's a little bit more yellow, and I'm going to swatch that. But they do swatch, and they do pick up very pigmented, but I'm kind of like dipping in my finger a couple of times just so I can give you a darker swatch of the lighter shades. So that's what that one looks like. You see how yellow it is on my hand? So it comes off a very yellow shade, and I'm just going to show it to you again. I kind of wish this one came off like this color because I really like the color in the pan, but it comes off more of like a pukey yellow color, kind of like Makeup Geek's Desert Sands. And then the third shade right here is this really pretty, like just regular, really light brown shade. All of these are really nice for the brow bone and for like the crease if you just want a really light crease and something really natural. I have used every single shade in the palette, so that's why I was able to finally film a review for you guys, and I want to get it up before the end of the month is over. Before May is over, I mean. So that is that third shade right here. As you can see, it's a little bit more of like a darker yellowish brown shade. I hope you guys can see. I hope I'm not like blind. Okay, there we go. That's better. So that is that third shade. And when you dip your fingers into these, they are a little bit dry feeling and a little bit chalky feeling. And they do have a lot of kick up. I'm not going to lie and say that they don't have a lot of kick up. In the pan, like when you dip your brush in, when you dip your finger in, there's not as much kick up as there is with the, with your fingers. But you would think that it would have more fallout that way if it has more kick up in the pan, but I'm going to tell you guys in a minute my thoughts on the fallout and everything else. So that is this fourth shade. That is this really pretty yellowy shade. This shade is so pretty. It's like a canary shade. I could not think of the word for a second. So it's like a really pretty matte yellow shade, just straight up yellow. It's kind of like an orangey yellow, actually. It's not as yellow, like bright yellow as you would think as it was in the pan. I'm going to try and swatch it one more time. Sorry, I had like so much pizza, so I feel like I have a little bit of heartburn. So that is that fourth shade right there. So now let's move on to the second row. And the second row has a lot more of the darker shades. We have this beautiful orange, a couple of neutral browns, and then this really pretty red-orange shade. So we're going to start with this shade right here. And this one is a really pretty, just medium tone brown shade, kind of like MAC's Soft Brown or Makeup Geek's Creme Brulee. And they do feel very soft when you swatch them. They just feel a little bit rougher in the pan, but nothing like uncomfortable. So this one is that really pretty medium brown. It's such a pretty shade. I really like that. I've been using that a lot for just like darkening up the crease more. I used that today in my crease. And then the next shade is that really pretty matte orange shade. I keep on forgetting to show you guys close-ups of the eyeshadows. This one is the orange shade, and this one is that lighter, like soft brown MAC shade. And then that is the orange shade swatched right there. And then I'm just going to swatch them, and then I'm going to tell you the colors. So this is a really pretty, more like medium tone brown. It's a little bit darker than the other one. Yeah, it's like slightly darker, a little bit more warmer tone. That's the third shade in that row. That's a really pretty one too. I like using it on the outer corners or in my crease. And then this one, I have to say, is my favorite shade in the palette. It's that really beautiful red-orange shade. It is so pretty. It's stunning. It's my favorite shade. I've been using it a lot when I use this eyeshadow palette. I used it like all in my crease, and I used it under my lower lash line. It looks so pretty when I used it. It definitely is my favorite shade in the palette. So that is that beautiful matte red-orange shade, and then the other two were these two shades here. So then we're just going to do the last row, which are really pretty dark brown shades for like your outer corners or your lower lash line, or like they said, even for your brows. And then this gorgeous matte red shade, like burgundy shade. So we're just going to swatch them. So these are the first two shades. That is the more cool tone shade, and this one is the second shade. It's more of like a chocolatey brown. Oh, they're so pigmented. I hope that's the right one. Yeah. So that one is the first one, and that one is the second one. Look how pigmented they are. Like, the darker they get, sorry, like my tissues were covering my speakers. The darker they get, a lot more pigmented they get, and then I'm going to do the last two. This one's more of like a, like, kind of like Makeup Geek's Mocha, and then that's the really dark red burgundy shade. And I do find I have to dip them in just one more time so I can give you a really good swatch. They're not like the most pigmented eyeshadows when you first swatch them. They're a little bit sheer. But once you build them up, as you can see, they have a perfect amount of pigmentation. So that was that last row right here, starting with this shade to this shade. So from top to bottom. And those are those four shades. So those are the last four shades. So now let's get into my thoughts on the palette, and then I'm going to tell you guys cheaper alternatives to the palette. So far, as I've been using it, when I first started using this, I didn't think it was anything mind-blowing, to be honest. I thought I was going to fall in love with it as soon as I started using it. I was like, oh, it's going to be the best matte palette ever. It's going to be like, it's going to apply like a dream. They're going to be so pigmented, and I'm going to love it so much. But honestly, I really didn't feel like that when I first started using it. I didn't think it was anything special. I'm like, this really isn't like that great, you know? But I have to be honest, the more that I've been using it, the more I have been liking it. But I don't think it's something you absolutely need in your collection. But I have to say, I love how my eyes turned out today. But I have to say, if you have like cheaper alternatives like Makeup Geek or ColourPop, I would go for those over this, to be honest. It is expensive. So, but you know, you can think about it as if you bought 12 ColourPop eyeshadows and those are all $5 a piece. It would be like $75 altogether. Like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 45, like 60 bucks for each eyeshadow. Yes, that is a little bit less money, and you do get more discount codes on ColourPop. So you are saving more money if you decided to get that over this. But I do think that the packaging is a big bonus, and also these have absolutely no fallout, which is a huge plus for me, which is definitely one of the claims that they make on the back. It says, highly pigmented, smooth, easy to blend, no fallout, long stay. I will say they have absolutely zero fallout. They are honestly a dream to blend and work with because there's absolutely nothing that falls down. Like, you would think when there's no fallout that they would just think, you know, they would just, you would think that they would just mean the crease or just the lid. Sorry, it's like 11:30 at night, so I'm going to be stumbling on my words a little bit because I'm pretty tired. But I just really wanted to film this review for you guys because I felt like it wasn't that hard for me to film this right now. Like, when you blend on the outer corner, nothing falls down. Absolutely nothing. It's amazing. I was really blown away by that. I was like, wow, this really doesn't have any fallout. I think it's because it's such a light formula, and because it has that little bit of chalkiness to it. It's not like a chalky feeling. It's just more like a dry feeling, but it's not a bad dry. It's just more of like a stiff dry, so you know that the eyeshadows are going to stay intact on your lid and not go anywhere and won't have fallout. So I think that's why they would, I would say that. Sorry, my boyfriend texted me. I'm just texting him back. So yeah, I would say that. But I would say I've been testing it out for a good 3 weeks or so, ever since the Vibe sale. My VIB sale haul, that's how much I've been wearing. I think I've worn this around 6 or 7 times, or I think around 6 times. So I've used all of the shades, and I really made sure to test it out thoroughly. And this is like kind of one of the first times I've done a really simple look with it, and I really like how it turned out. And I have not touched this. All I did was kind of just blend out the lid shade and just like kind of get rid of some of the transfer, but I haven't touched the other shades. And they still look really, really good. So that is very impressive for me. So I will say they have really long-lasting lastability. they're not the most pigmented eyeshadows when you first apply them. They do take a little bit of work, but I feel like I've learned how to use them, and now I feel like I know how to blend them. I'm not saying that they're hard to blend, but I'm saying they're not like the most easy, like one and done eyeshadows that I've used. I feel like I've felt more like that about other eyeshadows, but as I test them more out, I feel like they're just easier to apply. But I feel like that's kind of a downfall because obviously somebody wants to get this and it's like, it's a good beginner's palette. The same thing with like the neutral matte palette. They want it to be nice and basic for everyday use. And I feel like you're not going to be able to do that unless you know how to blend eyeshadow, but you can learn from this palette. I'm not saying it's difficult to blend. I'm just saying it's like, maybe because I'm so used to a couple swipes pigmentation, like those are my favorite kind of eyeshadow palettes, but since I've been like teaching myself more to blend more and learning more and more every day on how to blend my eyeshadow, I feel like that these don't apply as easily as like Makeup Geek eyeshadows or ColourPop ones, but I don't know. I feel like I feel like they do apply easily. Like they're still good, but I just feel like it doesn't pick up enough product on my brush that it takes a little bit longer to blend out. But it's not difficult to blend at all. They blend really beautifully together. And I would have to say also that they're not completely matte. They have kind of like a satin finish. They kind of like leave this a little bit of like a glow in your crease, and I think it makes it look so pretty. Like, so they don't come off dull, like not like the Lorac Pro palette where it's like, I've been testing out that again along with a couple of other neutral palettes to see how they compare to this, and also because I haven't worn them in a while and I really am trying to wear more of my neutral palettes again because I haven't been going out like more than just like with my boyfriend. I've just been going over his house, so that's why I've been wearing more neutral looks. And this, I definitely would have to say I like this a lot more than my other neutral eye palettes that I've used lately. They do blend very nicely, but I'm really trying to work through all my palettes to see how this lives up to it. But so far, I like this a lot, but I don't think it's absolutely essential for you to get. I think there are much cheaper alternatives out there. So I'm going to show you guys what my favorite alternatives are and why. But that's basically my review on the palette. If you have any other questions that I didn't cover, please let me know. But I don't think there's anything else I needed to say about it. But I've tried it with like warm looks, like I've used all of these together, and I've used the neutrals all together. And so far I haven't, and this is definitely very consistent quality across the board with every single eyeshadow. I will have to give it that as well. But I was expecting that for the price, but at the same time, sometimes, higher priced eyeshadows don't live up to the expectations that people think that it's going to have, that every single shade's going to be pigmented. Sometimes some of the pigmentation is crap and only like 3 or 4 of the eyeshadows are good. All of these are nice, neutral, pigmented eyeshadows, which I definitely was happy about. So I was kind of debating on returning this though, not gonna lie, because I wasn't falling in love with it. But now I think I really do love it. I think I love this eyeshadow palette right now. Not in love, but I think I love it right now. I love the way that it blends now, and I feel like I'm learning more and more about how to use it. So yeah, I hope you guys found that helpful. And I'm just going to go over a few quick alternatives. I'm just going to compare it to my top 3 favorite eyeshadow palettes and then just give you a couple of other alternatives if those alternatives don't interest you. So I have to mention the Lime Crime Venus palettes because these are my all-time favorite warm. Well, this one's more of like a warm matte palette, but you guys know these are like my all-time favorite formula. They blow me out of the water with how pigmented they are, but they're also very easily blendable to me. So they apply beautifully, and they also, sorry, I just thought my mom said something. And they also are beautifully pigmented, and they blend beautifully. So this is what the Lime Crime Venus 1 palette looks like. I'm just going to show it to you really quick. I just think that this is a solid eyeshadow palette. They are so pigmented. It's freaking insane. I'm just going to show you. I know I've swatched these ones for you like 10 million times, but I have to do it again because I have to just show you how pigmented these are. Like, I'm just going to dip my finger in, and I'm just going to do it one time. One time. That's one time. And then Muse, I'm like barely touching it, and that's how much pigmentation comes off. This is barely touching the eyeshadow. Look at that. That's insane how pigmented they are. Like, you barely need any product. So I feel like this is a lot more worth it because you don't have to. I mean, I really don't use up eyeshadows all that often. I really have only hit pan on like 5 Makeup Geek eyeshadows, so I don't really have to complain about like how much product you get in a certain palette. But I'm just saying, like, you really need the slightest bit of your brush. Like, it's insane how beautiful these are. And I'm just gonna do like 2 more. But come on. They're so freaking pigmented, like, and that's that beautiful aura shade. So I know not everyone loves Lime Crime, but I have to say their formula is out of this world. It's my favorite. And then the other one is the Venus 2 palette, which is more of like a, kind of like more of like a going out fun palette. But I feel like the Lime Crime eyeshadow palettes are both really good for, you know, making your eyeshadows fun and stuff like that. So before I jump into the other alternatives of what I think you could get over this palette, I just wanted to tell you guys what are on my eyes. I almost forgot to include this in this video, so yeah. So today I used ColourPop's Firefly as my transition shade, and then I went in with, I believe it was this shade in my crease. Yeah, this shade right here. And then I darkened up the crease more with this shade right here. And then for the outer corners, I used these 2 shades. Or maybe these 2 shades. Maybe it was these 2 shades. Really can't remember. But I used most of the browns today. I think I just stuck with like this part right here. So I used these 2 on the outer corners. And then for the brow bone, I used this shade right here. All applied very beautifully. And I've had my makeup on for probably like almost 8 hours because I've been wearing it since like 4 p.m. today, and right now it's like 11:45, and the matte still look pretty damn good. So I am actually really impressed because this is actually one of the first times I've worn these for this long amount of time. And sorry, forgive my lipstick, don't ask. But yeah, I think those are the ones that I used today. I'm pretty sure it was this one in the crease, this one to darken it up more, and these 2 on the outer corners and then on the brow bone. Okay, let's jump into the alternatives now. Sorry, my mom was like outside my door, so I was sounding like an idiot, but there's like stickiness on this one too from like a product, like again, that product I was trying to save. But anyway, they always make their eyeshadow palettes like fun, and I feel like they make them easy to use together. Like I feel like you use these 2 colors together, like I mean, this one not really, but the rest of the shades, like these shades I use all the time for like warm looks and stuff. But I love this palette too, and again, the pigmentation is sickening. I don't think as pigmented as the first one, but still, those are like 2 swipes. I mean, they're beautiful. So if you guys don't like Lime Crime and you don't want to purchase Lime Crime, I will give you other options, but I would just have to say these are amazing. They're amazing. Like this shade in the crease, oh my god, it's amazing. And I used like a couple of these recently, like these 3 shades together, and these are a lot more cohesive, so you can use these a lot more together. I feel like with this one you kind of have to pull from other eyeshadow palettes, but I still love it. These are more like just lid shades basically. But this, oh my god, like they just blend. They just blend. They apply so pigmented and they just blend like a dream. Like I don't even know. Like the brush doesn't have to do anything. They're flipping amazing. And then, of course, you guys know I'm going to have to bring up the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. Also a great alternative to this palette. I know everybody and their mom raves about this palette, but so does everybody about the Viseart palette, so might as well bring up the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. But again, I've used this palette a million times. I almost used it today over the Viseart palette, but I was like, no, I have to shoot my review video, so let's use the Viseart palette. But amazing, amazing palette. It's just so, so good. Like, honestly, you have everything you need in here. Like this palette, I never have to go for another palette when I use this. I can just use this and I'm good to go because um, the only thing I would say is that I don't really have a transition shade in here because I usually use ColourPop Firefly, but other than that, don't have to touch any other palette. I mean, these are all amazing. Amazing. Like, these are one swipe. And that's red ochre and that's Venetian red. They're beautiful. That Venetian red color is so pretty. And then this orange shade, I mean, these are a lot more pigmented eyeshadows. Like, if you're a beginner, I would suggest the Viseart palette. Even though I said it's probably not the best for a beginner, I would kind of say it's better than like these eyeshadows because these are very pigmented. But I find these to be super blendable and really easy to use. And then the shimmers, like again, that's one swipe. This one is Vermeer and this one is Primavera. Oh, they're so pretty. But I can't really compare the shimmery shades with the Viseart palette. So, but I just wanted to show you that this is a solid palette as well. And this one's around $48. So, again, not breaking the bank. And as you can see, I've used these two eyeshadows like crazy. I love them. But you really do have so many beautiful tones in this. And these shades here like are basically all the warm eyeshadows you need, and then you have this beautiful orange as well and this brown shade. So you have like 6 or 7 warm tones in here, and then the rest are really beautiful like pinky shades that they just go together really beautifully. And it was just such a smartly laid out palette. I really wanted to use this today like so badly because I love it. I love this palette. It's amazing. So highly recommend this as well if you're not wanting to spend the money on the Viseart palette. And then the last one, of course, I have to mention the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette. You guys, I have fallen so hard in love with this palette. I just used it last week with like a full look because I haven't done a full look with it in quite a while. Usually I'll use a couple of the mattes in here and then I'll just stick on one of the Stila glitters. But last week I just used a full look with it and oh my god, it was so amazing. But again, kind of similar shades to the neutral matte palette when it comes to the warm shades. Like you have this Air shade, Royal Prerogative, Duchess, Empress, and Crown. Like you really don't need 10 million matte shades. Like how many are you going to use, you know? Like on a daily basis, for someone that uses this palette, well that's why you would get the neutral matte one. For someone that uses this palette on a daily basis, they would probably only use these 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eyeshadows. Right? Yeah. I would say they would only use those 8 eyeshadows because they really couldn't use like these 4 for like work, you know? Maybe this one they could get away with, but these, no. But with this, not really either. But this, honestly, solid palette across the board. Just as pigmented as the Modern Renaissance and the Lime Crime Venus palette. Honestly, fallen so hardcore in love with this palette. I'm telling you, Colored Rain eyeshadows are an amazing formula. And I just wanted to swatch a couple of the mattes for you guys. These are, again, so pigmented, like not even joking. Like, so pretty. They're so soft to the touch. This one's Air and this one's Royal Prerogative. I have to say, though, about this Air shade right here, this is not playing. Like, you think it's just like, oh, it's like whatever. It's like a just peachy matte shade. This is so pigmented. Like, I just use this in my crease. If I want to cover up any mistakes, like if I get transfer from like mascara on my crease, or if I get like an transfer from like a lid shade, if I go over it with this, it like covers my whole lid or covers the whole outer corner where I'm trying to correct it. I'm like, holy shit, it is so pigmented. So this is not playing. I am so happy they're bringing this back permanently. Amazing. I'm telling you, this is a palette you need. Like, that's the gold, and this is the red. This is one swipe. Are you serious? Are you serious right now? So if you, like, That's one swipe. Are you kidding me? They're so beautiful. Like, those are the kind of palettes that I go for because I am all about that one swipe full blendability kind of thing. So those are the 3 palettes I would recommend over the Viseart. But if you want stuff that's a lot more relatable to the Viseart palette, because obviously these have pops of color and shimmery shades in them, but I'm just suggesting them for the formula. I'm not suggesting them basically based on the color scheme. If I would say for the color scheme, I would say a really good alternative to the Viseart palette is the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics palette. I know probably some people be like, well, that wasn't a really good palette. I feel like that this is a pretty underrated palette. I actually really enjoy this palette. It is so easy to use for everyday looks, and it's basically the same color scheme as the Warm Neutral Matte palette. There's a lot, well, these are definitely cooler tone, but this is about $50, you know, and they're kind of the same pan size as the Naked palettes, and I just wanted to show you guys side by side. So, I mean, not everything is the same, but I mean, you got this yellow and this red, which are pretty damn similar to this one and this one right here. And then you have the brow bone highlighters, which are very similar right here. And then you have those 2 matte brown shades down there, which are pretty similar to like these shades right here. So just saying, this palette was really good. I really like this palette a lot. So I would suggest this one because it's all matte. It's an all matte palette if you're looking for that, or the Naked Basics palette. But I went for this one because I didn't have either of the Naked Basics palettes, and I actually really enjoyed this one. This one is really, really good. So yeah, this one's around 50 bucks. But then if you're not about that palette life and you don't want to spend $50 all at the same time, I would suggest Makeup Geek or ColourPop. I'm not going to show my Makeup Geek eyeshadows again. You guys know I love them, but I want to say ColourPop is definitely a really good alternative. I am obsessed with these eyeshadows. I literally want to use them all the time. It's really hard for me to use other eyeshadows than these. I want to grab for these like literally every time I do a neutral look. It's not even funny. I love them. I've used all of them and I love them so much. I just wanted to compare a couple of the like reddish shades. So I'm just going to do this, what is this shade right here? This one is Crisscross. We're just going to swipe that one. Oh my god, they're so pretty. Oh my god. And then Popular Demand. I mean, they're so good. They're so good. That one is Crisscross and that one is Popular Demand. They blend so good, like so good. I'm so obsessed with them. And then they have these really beautiful neutrals right here. Very similar to the neutrals in here. Like again, you're going to find 10 gajillion dupes for these in your collection. Like these aren't anything revolutionary. If you want to try something totally different, go for the shimmery ones or go for the satin finished ones. And then, this matte yellow shade is very similar to what's in this palette as well. So I just wanted to swipe the 2 like reddish shades just to see how similar they are. Like those are the Viseart ones and these are the ColourPop ones. So very similar. The Crisscross one is definitely a lot more red. That one is such a beautiful color. I don't know how they did that color, but they made a really beautiful matte red. So yeah, that is pretty much it, you guys. But I would have to say these mattes are beautiful. This one is Note to Self, and this one is Wake Up Call. And if you wanted to see any of the other eyeshadows side by side with this one, I didn't think that was really necessary because you know that they're going to be similar anyway, and I'm just showing you the pigmentation. I'm not really showing you dupes. I'm just showing you like really good alternatives. So these are also really good alternatives as well. And yeah, that's it, you guys. So please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, CBW819, and my Twitter is PokerFace819, and my Snapchat is PokerFace819. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review video. I really am trying to post more review videos on my channel the next couple of weeks. I don't know what is going on with my lipstick. Oh my god. Really? Wow, that just got all over my face. Okay, that's better. Sorry, that was really bothering me. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go before it gets worse. So bye!